Welcome to our fourth trimester series. My name is Amy Aranoff. I am a Pilates instructor here at the Center for Wellness and Integrative Medicine. This video is specific to pelvic floor health and is great for new moms, but it's also applicable to pretty much anyone who wants to improve their pelvic floor health. And we know the pelvic floor is not to be isolated. We want to work all the muscles that support the pelvic floor, and the breath is specific to that. This video is wonderful for just reconnecting with your body, for taking a few minutes to yourself and helping you to just feel better about where you are right now, right here. Let's begin. First and foremost, I'd like you to lie down on the floor, and you can even have your baby with you. It'll be fun. You can incorporate your new baby into this movement if you choose. I'm lying on the mat with my knees bent and my feet are about hip distance apart. My hands are on my pelvis, and I'm just gonna take a nice deep inhalation, thinking about widening my ribs with a deep inhale. And as I exhale, I imagine a corset wrapping from the back of my body to the front of the body, engaging my deep abdominal muscles, which happen to co-contract with the pelvic floor muscles. So again, a nice deep inhalation through the nose. And as I exhale through pursed lips, I might want to make a little sound, a little shh sound to help me to engage my abdominals and also to get a deeper exhalation. Again, inhaling deeply and exhaling, dropping my navel gently down to my spine. And one more time, inhaling deeply and exhaling. Let's add a little bit of pelvic mobility. I'm gonna take my arms to my side so you can see what I'm doing with my pelvis. I'm gonna inhale deeply, just like we did. And then as I exhale and make my little shh sound, I'm gonna drop my navel deep to my spine. I am pressing my lower back into the mat. If I had something, an object like a grape under my lower back, not that a grape would be there, but I have just squashed my grape with my exhale. And then with my inhale, I release to what we call a neutral spine, which is a gentle arch of the lower back off the mat. Again, with the exhalation, gently sinking the navel to the spine, imprinting my lower back, little bit of a pelvic tilt here, and then releasing to neutral. If you have your fingers on your pelvis, when you exhale and drop your navel down, you'll feel that the belly is a little lower and the pubic bone is a little higher. We want that mobility in our hips. This is a wonderful way to reconnect with the pelvic floor muscles. Exhaling and inhaling. And one more time, exhaling, such a small movement, but really engaging those deep pelvic floor and abdominal muscles, and inhaling. From here, you might want to do a little side to side rocking. One hip rolls heavier to the mat, and then the other hip rolls heavier to the mat. I'm gonna move my hands so you can see how small and subtle this movement is. Rocking side to side. I'm working really hard not to move my legs as I roll my pelvis from side to side and come through the center. You might want to even incorporate all these movements. So we're going to exhale, drop the navel to the spine and roll to one side, and then arch the spine and roll to the other side and go back to that imprinted lower back. This is called the pelvic clock. So I'm going to heavy one hip, I'm going to roll to my tailbone, my spine will arch up slightly. I'm going to roll to my other hip and I'm going to drop my navel to the spine. Let's do one more in each direction. Heavying one hip, arching the spine, heavying the other hip and emptying the lungs, dropping the navel deep to the spine, and then going over to the other side, arching slightly, over to the other hip and back to the center, and releasing. Believe it or not, this mobility of our hips is how we locomote, how we work and walk through our day, this becomes very tight, especially after pregnancy and delivery. So these movements, seemingly subtle, very subtle, are really important for pelvic floor health. From here, I'm going to keep my rib cage nice and heavy into the mat. I'm going to take an inhalation. And as I exhale, I'm gonna sink my navel, I'm gonna reach my knees, and I'm going to lift my hips up into what we call a bridge. I'm gonna keep my shoulders heavy into the mat and stop at the top. In Pilates, the hips are higher than the ribs. Again, the hips are slightly higher than the ribs. If we go too high, there's compression in our spine, and we don't want that. So check yourself out. With your hips lifted, you should be able to look over one shoulder and look over your other shoulder to ensure you're not in your neck. Take a deep inhalation here. And as you exhale, come on down slowly through the spine, articulating through your upper and your mid and your lower back. This work is wonderful for inner thighs, for glutes and pelvic floor. Let's do one more together. Inhale, sink the navel, go into a little tilt of the pelvis. The pubic bone is higher than the navel, and we peel up off the mat slowly, slowly through the spine. We stop at the top. We take a deep inhalation, and as you exhale, come on down slowly, vertebra by vertebra, by vertebra, and release. That is shoulder bridge. Let's roll over to one side. I'm going to roll onto my right side to start what we call a little bit of hip mobility work, working the muscles that support our hips. My knees are to my chest, my feet are slightly back. Traditional clam is a lifting of that top knee and lowering. The feet are together, lifting and lowering. That's the whole movement, lifting and lowering, mobilizing through the hip joint, keeping those muscles that support our hips nice and strong. We'll do about 6 more of these, and then we'll switch to the other side. 5 to go. Head is relaxed in line with the spine, lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Beautiful control. We don't let that leg flop down. We control the movement. 1 more. Take it down. Press on up. And we'll do the other side. Lying on your side. I'm going to just change my position slightly because I have a microphone. My knees are lined up. My feet are lined up. My knee lifts and my knee lowers. Traditional clam, working those muscles that support your hip. And it's a lift and a lower, and a lift, and a lower. 6 to go, and lower. 5 more, and lower. Last 4, and lower. The hips stay nice and still as we mobilize the thigh bone in the hip socket. 1 more, and take it down gently. Propping up, let's take a seat for a moment. Cross-legged or however is comfortable for you. Sitting right up on both sit bones. Taking a moment here to take that deep inhalation. And exhale. Finding length. Think of zipping up from your pubic bone all the way up through the chest. Taking a moment or two for yourself is always beneficial. It changes your day. It helps your pelvic floor. Thank you so much. Be good to yourself.